Today I'm going to tell you about the worst day of my life. Now, some of you may think after you hear this, this is the worst day of his life. How bad could his life be? This is specifically pertaining to my professional career, or my almost professional career, as it pertains to working for NASA someday. So this story sucks, but I promise it has a good ending, so bear with me. So when I was a teenager, I was an average student, but a hopeless romantic, right? Like, I hated school, and all I ever wanted to do was get married and have kids and all that. So like my favorite movies were like like Love Actually and these like cheesy rom-com-y stuff. Like, total romantic, not a good student. So since I didn't like school very much, I had to choose the easiest major in college, right? Which is, of course, communications. Okay, so now I realize how useful communications has been, but at the time, you kind of took that major if you wanted to sail through college. It's just the way it was. Okay, it did end up being kind of hard. At the end of my bachelor's degree, I had to take one more class as an elective class outside of my major to pass, to finish my degree. And the only thing that looked semi-interesting was history of human spaceflight. And this is specific story is one for another time, but long story short, I fell in love. So I dove headfirst into space. I took calc, physics, astronomy. I listened to every podcast I could find. I watched The Cosmos, the old one and the new one. I had a wonderful girlfriend at the time that I wanted to marry, but when I was in school, well, I was always in school. No time for a relationship. Undiagnosed ADHD needed some room to work, people, okay? So naturally, I wanted to work at NASA so bad and become the next Carl Sagan. So, like I said, I watched and listened to everything space. Now, one of the podcasts I listened to learn about space was the Planetary Society. So I attended the grand opening of their new office in Pasadena in 2015 to network and check it out. I was so excited. I remember walking up to the event and seeing tall flags and signs and groups of people wearing the same colored shirts and showing kids how to use a telescope and conducting other cool experiments like the physics of a theremin and all this other cool stuff under these big pop-ups because it was so hot. I mean, it was October, but it was really hot. Now, Bill Nye was there, of course, because he's the leader of the Planetary Society, or the CEO. The podcast host of the podcast, Matt Kaplan, was there. And it was a really fun day. And when the festivities died down, I remember thinking as I was halfway to my car that I had this feeling like I had forgotten something. So I looked back, and unbeknownst to me, it was my intuition telling me to go back. But I saw that there were some food trucks, and I had about a 2-hour drive ahead of me. So I headed over there. Next thing I know, I was telling this random woman my life story, basically everything I just told you, but like way longer, about wanting to be the next Carl Sagan and I want to work for NASA. And I told her I would give anything to work an internship at NASA. So she looked at me and said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I froze. I was like, what have I done? Was this bad? How could this be bad? What did I possibly say that could be bad? Why am I so nervous? I'll leave out her identity for this story because it feels weird to reveal her without her permission, whatever. But she introduced herself as a certain executive at NASA JPL. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just telling the story. She said, "I'm quite impressed and JPL would be lucky to have you. You should find me on LinkedIn and I'll connect you with the communications team over at NASA." Okay, so you know that feeling where your body is lighter than a feather, right? Where your heart is fluttering like there's a butterfly stuck in your chest. The feeling they talk about in movies, right? These rom-coms where you like fall in love with someone. Yeah, that was happening to me because I met a woman who worked at JPL who wanted to give me an internship. Okay, nothing could ruin my day. It was, up until that point, it was the best day of my life. So I left. I connected with her on LinkedIn. We exchanged a couple of messages that day, and that was it. Now remember, this was October 24th, 2015. October 24th, 2015. So days go by, even weeks go by, nothing. And I was bummed. Like, I thought I made a good impression. She said she was impressed. She said she was going to reach out. So I was just kind of like waiting for a notification. Nothing. So what do? I think at that point I was in calc and physics 2. I guess I'll just keep working. I guess I'll look for more internships and try again. I was pretty bummed. But let's fast forward a couple more weeks to 1 month after we met. So now it's Tuesday, November 24th, 2015. I was in my community college computer lounge when my lab partner and I were emailing in our last assignments before Thanksgiving break. So I had the most random thought. I was at a computer and I thought, I'm going to log into my LinkedIn account, just check messages. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, just like cross off all my, dot my I's, cross my T's, whatever. Now that's really random, okay? Because in 2015, students were just not on LinkedIn. This was only professionals. I think I signed up for a LinkedIn account to email her or message her that one time. So, sure enough, I opened my LinkedIn account and I saw that I had a new message, which was odd because who would be messaging me? Now it's all just in-mail spam, but back then, not so much. Who was it but the executive at JPL, who I met at the picnic? It was sent less than a week after I met her, offering me an interview with the communications department at NASA with an all but decided position. All I had to do was talk to this guy. She was executive position and she was impressed. So what could happen? I panicked because that was over 3 weeks since that was sent and I had not responded, didn't even get a notification. I began to cry in the computer station next to my lab partner. My whole body became numb. The world could fold in half like Inception style and I would have no idea. As far as I was concerned, NASA knocked and I straight up did not answer. Totally missed my shot. But the position hadn't been filled, right? So, my friend helped me pull it together. I was still kind of a mess. I messaged her back immediately apologizing, asking if there was another chance. Zero response. Days go by, weeks go by. Zero response, nothing. So many people dream of working for NASA. And to me, I got a shot at a non-technical position, right? When would that ever come around again? So now the boy who never thought he'd amount to anything academically completely missed a shot to work for friggin' NASA. Now, time went on. I was bummed for a while after that. Like I had to go hang out with my family over Thanksgiving break and I was a total bummer, not fun. But time went on. I eventually did a really cool week-long workshop at NASA, but it didn't really amount to much NASA ways. But let's fast forward. Now that was 6 years ago. Today, I'm pursuing a master's degree in astronomy. I host a space education podcast, a YouTube channel, and a somewhat confusingly viral TikTok account for space education. In fact, I'm now a full-time video producer, and every morning I spend quality time with my one-year-old son. We handle his enema and his home care. He was born with his intestines were not connected properly. I have tea parties with my 3-year-old daughter, and that girl that I was dating back then, we've been married for 5 years now. So I was sitting at home one morning watching our favorite cartoon, Spirit, Riding Free, and the phone bill came. So my wife handed it to me and it said, it's time to upgrade your phone. Everyone knows I've had like the worst phone forever. I've never updated it. It said the last time you upgraded your phone was October 25th, 2015. You see, October 24th was the picnic in Pasadena where I met her. October 25th, I dropped my phone and shattered it into a bunch of pieces. And on my new phone, I neglected to turn on notifications for LinkedIn, and I totally missed the interview invitation when she sent it. Now, think about this. If I would have not broken my phone, if fate didn't step in or whatever you want to call it, if I would have started interning and working for JPL, would I have the opportunity to build my science communication skills even more through YouTube or podcasting? Would I have the time to pursue a master's in astronomy? Would I have the time to see my kids if I was commuting 3 hours a day to JPL? How long would have I even lasted? I mean, I was young. I had no science communication skills. I had almost no knowledge about space back then. And just like school, right? When I was in school, my wife never saw me. If I dove into JPL at the before I even got married, would I have even married her? So if my teenage self, the absolute romantic, rom-com loving, wannabe father and husband saw me now, I think he'd be pretty proud of where I landed.